Oh, yes. Nothing like a middle of July podcast. Well, we are here during free agency and the middle of the summer league, and we are still here to talk Atlanta Hawks. Well, today we're kind of, at least at the beginning, reflect on all things Al Horford, what he meant for us. And the one person I had to bring in to do this is, well, he needs no introduction, and he knows all things Al Horford more so than I do. Well, let me welcome back Jason Walker back into our guest seat and CawCast studios. Jason, what's going on?
Hey, Josh. Yeah, doing all right. I don't know about knowing about Al Horford because, I was convinced he was staying. So, it just goes to show how much I know about the inner workings of the Horford clan there. So, but yeah, I'm doing all right. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, well, thank you. So, Jason, I haven't had a chance to talk to you since, everything went down around July 4th weekend, but
That's
Al
right.
Horford is no longer a Hawk.
Yeah.
He joined the Celtics of all teams.
Yeah, it's not just that he's not a Hawk anymore, Josh. It's that he went to Boston.
Yeah.
I mean, Boston fans they don't care about the Hawks. I mean, they got all those banners. What do they care?
Yeah.
About Atlanta, but for us, it just really represent, Dominique not winning. They represent stay the F down. They represent nothing easy. We're jealous of them, and the fact that they took arguably our best player is that's just a little more salt in the wound. It's like Mr. Burns on The Simpsons winning the free car.
I remember that
It's
episode.
not right. It's not right. We got to scratch and claw for everything. They've got all those banners.
Yeah.
So, hey, we figure we offer a fifth year to a guy. We think he'd stay, but obviously there was a lot more to it than that.
Well, the hurtful thing is all the years that we've seen, see the Hawks lose to, or at least get eliminated by Boston in the playoffs. We've seen Horford Hawks team get eliminated by Boston in the playoffs. And when we finally beat them,
That's right.
he joins them.
That's right. After Tommy Heinsohn says, "We don't need that guy. He stinks."
Oh, yeah.
That's just that was just warm, fuzzy kisses to Horford, obviously, because.
No, Jason. Yeah. No, Jason, were you paying attention the day that everything went down? At least to like the Woj tweets and the news coming out that
Right.
Horford is talking to Atlanta. He's strongly considering coming back. Had a good meeting with Atlanta. Just like 15 minutes straight of just good news. I'm like, all right, we're about to get Horford back. We're about to have a really good front court duo. And suddenly Horford agrees to 4-year deal with Boston Celtics.
Yeah, Celtic pride.
Excuse me, Celtic pride, 17 Shamrocks.
Yeah, I was paying attention.
It
was a little hurtful. Here's a guy that never gets anything wrong. And but we know that when it comes to the Hawks, Woj is not plugged in. It's like the one organization he's got no hooks into. Windhorst, Kevin Arnovitz, those guys on ESPN, Mark Stein, they all have much better hooks into the Hawks than Woj does. So if there's going to be a team he's wrong on, it's probably going to be the Hawks. But that said, that was a special twist in the back. That's a little cut a steep there. That Woj. Usually you get the nod from Woj and the wink. You think, wow, this is we're on track. He's not going to be wrong, but he was. And then, like I said, the kick in the crotch afterwards, seeing Horford tweet out Celtic pride with all those shamrocks. I didn't count. I didn't care. But yeah, it was just. Then it was really. I'm still wearing black.
I see that.
Yeah, I am. I'm
I
literally
see that.
wearing black today.
I ran out of black stuff to wear.
And it's and there's a Gator logo on it too. So
Uh, man, yeah, it was just painful. It's like they twisted the knife.
Yeah, it was. It was official.
Watching Horford change all his stuff to Celtics.
Oh, all right. And because it wasn't official, because he couldn't do anything till the 7th, there was no, farewell. So we just had to sit out there and twist in the wind. Only thing, the only thing we saw was, Celtic pride, and then his the sister, taking issue with everybody in the ATL, and it just wasn't a very peaceful way to snap off long-term relationship. I've had 12 years with Al between Orange and Blue and the ATL. So I mean, it's hard because he gone to me. I mean, see you later, Al. I mean, you're in Boston. I love the guy, but
That's Boston.
I can't root for him. Root for him. And it's not like he had one of those options either. He's there. That's it. There's no U-turn for Mr. Horford.
Yeah, I was talking about it. And what you mentioned about how he couldn't, say anything because nothing was official until the 7th. You mentioned his sister having the comments. I'm sure every Hawks fan by now has heard or read to an extent of the Boston Globe kind of article where they talked with his father on there. So,
oh yeah, the worst thing about that is it just brings up all the wrong narratives and the easy, low-hanging fruit punchlines that Hawks fans, have subject to it. But what Tito said wasn't wrong. But the thing is, you could say that about 24, 25 NBA cities. You can say that Tuesday night at 7:00. It's a bit of a struggle to get the place filled up, unless you're in a huge metropolitan where a lot of people work downtown and they can just roll over to the ball game. And there's generations of fans and season ticket holders there. That's not Atlanta. That's not Milwaukee. That's not, it's not going to be Oklahoma City. You'll see that. It's just, it's different. So, and the Hawks aren't the only show in town either.
Oh yeah.
You got that too. So, I mean, what Tito said wasn't wrong necessarily. There's plenty of nights where you're busting your hump and you look up and, Ryan Cameron loves you. But you're wondering who else is out there. And then when the Knicks or the Bulls or the Celtics, heck, I even now the Warriors also, when they're in town, you're fighting on two fronts because you've got the people the bandwagoners rooting against the Hawks, wearing their brand new Steph Curry jersey into the building, and it's tough to do. So I mean, if Al wanted to be in a place where every game felt like the playoffs, and he picked a good place, Boston's very good for that, But I don't think it. The problem with what Tito said was it sounds like it's unique to Atlanta, and so now we have to endure to be the poster children for those jokes and those kind of comments and the moronic picture taking at 6:30. Oh, here we go. Or at tip off when everybody's trying to get through security. Oh, look at the arena, or Viv Lamore's jokes about how the attendance, the Hawks announced attendance. It's just that's problematic. It's trouble. So now not only did we lose Al Horford, and not only did we lose him to the Celtics, but we get a special pie in the face, a little drink in your eye there from Daddy on the way out.
Yeah, it's like you played on the thing that, like, I guess we are subconsciously, we try to fight, and it just is like, oh, you had to mention just like the one thing we hate.
Well, if you're playing the playoffs and you're not getting any noise, that's a problem. But that's not the case. The ATL always turns out for big games, for playoff games. They're always loud, but it's hard to beat the narrative. It's been there a long time. So we know it's wrong, just like the Braves, we know it's wrong. And
Boy.
you know, so what can you say? You just another round of that, and to even imply that was the reason why he left was wrong. But there were deeper reasons than attendance.
Yeah. Hawks fans, listeners out there, I'd just like to say, it'd be a whole lot better if you just ignored all of that.
Right.
It wasn't necessary, but at the same time, I kind of think of how, he is outspoken, and you've heard him mention it, just random things before in the past, kind of like, Horford doesn't need to be playing center. He said that after his first few years, and it was just kind of like, to me, it's just kind of like, oh, okay, all right, cool, moving on.
That's right. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. We know what the truth is. Yeah. We know what the facts are, and he's not wrong, but he's not. It's not you to imply that it's unique to Atlanta is bogus.
Well, we're here, Jason. We're the diehards. Heck, we're in the middle of a July.
Podcast. You didn't get the memo, Josh? I'm jumping ship. I'm quitting the Warriors bandwagon. I've got my Durant jersey on the way in, being shipped in.
Just
here, yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's
not true. I'm ATL. It bummed me out, and makes you want after you're busted. Guys like Chris and Brad who publish so much material on the site. You just wonder how you press forward after that. But here they are, still contributing. I'm still on Twitter and doing the bit I can from my ivory tower atop the Global Peachtree Hoops headquarters. Private butler. I had somebody dabbing my tears as Horford walked out. But now you take a look at it, and hey, we'll see what this team is. But I know we're talking about Al, and you think back to it, Josh, and you think about the first few years he was here, the Mike Woodson era. He was kind of treated as like the janitor, do all the cleanup. He never really was developed in the post. They just kind of treated him as a junkyard dog out there, which I thought was the thing. I even wrote an article that said, trade him if you're not going to treat him like a real player. Trade him. And that was, so I think that was like the genesis of it. Because if I felt he was being kind of minimized, then I know he probably felt that way. And then just the stuff with Josh Smith, about the team kind of messing around with him in restricted free agency and eventually letting him go. All that stuff kind of plays in players' minds and say, well, when it's my time, and the Hawks took care of Horford the first time around. Not took care of him because it was mutual. He took care of the Hawks too. But you have to wonder if the seeds of disrespect were planted even early in his career by Woodson and Larry Drew, and he had the opportunity to go. The opportunity came around for the new contract. He made it clear what he wanted, and the team held back. I mean, they held back. They could have done it. It's $1.5 million more a year that he, and to complete the fifth year. But obviously they held back, and if Horford kind of sensing they're holding back, then he's like, well, what the heck? Celtics are giving me every penny possible, and Hawks aren't. Something's amiss there. So I think the Hawks made their call, and it was kind of chaotic there. It looked a little, Keystone Cops, putting Paul Millsap on eBay there at the end. Let's see what let me get some bids. I didn't meet our reserve price. We'll pull him back because Horford's gone. But, you just look at kind of Horford's career and that early part of his career with Woodson.
Yeah.
And, you wonder if that, and if he did ever want to play power forward more, well, the Hawks certainly didn't accommodate that. So, I mean, all that stuff builds up, I guess, And you didn't yell loud enough at ball games, Josh. So,
Yeah, it's true. I
Mm-hmm.
take full fault with that.
Yeah.
Um,
How he's gone.
that's on me, guys. Well, you're right. Boston did give them. They basically said we've out. Do you think? Well, actually, do you think Horford kind of like saw that as like Boston saying we value you more
Absolutely.
than
Absolutely.
Atlanta? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they went out of their way. He was their number one. Well, not really, because we know Kevin Durant was their number one priority. But that didn't stop them from going all out for Horford. So the Hawks could have done it. They could have gone all out. And I know the people are right. They said, oh, the Hawks did more. They offered him that 5th year. You think that 5th year he's going to get $28 million or $30 million? No. He's not going to get that. So the Hawks were actually giving him more. And they're not wrong. But what they gave him 90% of what he could have gotten, whereas Boston gave him 100% of what they could offer him. And Horford obviously saw that 10%, and with everything else adding up, heads out there. Now, it'll be funny when Kelly Olynyk's playing center and Kelly Olynyk's out on the perimeter and Al's playing center again in Boston. But hey.
That was something I mentioned. I said as I jokingly say, the Horford power forward truthers.
Yes.
He essentially kind of left playing, well, at the time, had we signed him, he would not have been the center. No. I'm pretty sure with who was on the roster, of who they signed at that time, he would not have played center. No. So he essentially left to go continue to play center, which that's another story in itself.
But it's true.
That I don't think is being recognized amongst, all the people that argue that. But, man, Horford really left.
He's gone.
I'm just surprised. You think of all the time he spent here.
Right.
9 years in Atlanta. He started off. If I can remember his correctly, I didn't go back and look. I'm doing this off the top, off of my mind. Sheldon Williams started in front of him just for a little bit, I think. No. Yes, because yes. Okay.
Yeah. He was because Woody loved the rookies. And by saying that, I mean he didn't.
Yeah.
I think he played the first it wasn't long though before he was in the lineup.
Wasn't long, but it's like you mentioned, he wasn't given a position, or he wasn't really given any kind of responsibility.
He was just, you're the 5th guy. Good luck. Your offense will come, his offense came running the floor and follow-ups.
Yeah, and he eventually developed the mid-range jumper, which was kind of, I don't know if that was surprising, but it's just kind of like, oh, Horford had this in his arsenal.
Yeah, he worked on it constantly. Anybody that watched Horford before games, I mean, it was constant work on that mid-range jump shot. And, he became the best big, in the East, really shooting that thing.
Yeah, got him to his All-Star game. I remember his first year. But thinking back on Horford, the memories on that, I know a lot of fans made it possible. Now, I forgot. Did you write this article or no, I can't remember. So many Horford articles. The made it possible, kind of reflecting on how Al Horford. Somebody mentioned, it may have been in your article. Somebody mentioned of, his team was, or at least his first couple of years, is when they became Hawks fans. And that kind of stuck with me because I thought about it and I was like, well, when I started watching the Hawks, they were incredibly bad. This is the year before the 13-win season. This is right before Joe Johnson came to the team. And it wasn't until Al Horford came that they actually became kind of instead of the joke of, the joke of a team to, the Hawks actually have a basketball team.
Right. Young team rising.
Yeah.
What they were. With Bibby, after they got Bibby.
Yeah. It was
great trade. Yeah, a lot of people commented in the first piece that I wrote, a very emotional, I don't get it kind of piece. Didn't get why the Hawks kind of built this culture, and then, now what are they? I mean, it still kind of boggles me, but I'm a little more wait and see than I was before, where it was, really, really dark that day. But yeah, a lot of people did kind of, that young team rising with Josh and Al, with Joe, Marvin, that was, that was the young team rising. And they, so I could see that. I mean, I started off with a little earlier than that. But I could see. So, I mean, and as I thought about it, Josh, I was like, gosh, it's been 9 years,
9 years.
I came back. I had, done the Real GM. I was on Real GM. I had covered the team. I was the only internet writer covering the team. And, I'd left to move back down home to Florida. And it was that year, the 2007 year, that, started blogging again. So I really, the next chapter was with this team and with Al Horford becoming a Hawk. So that was, yeah, I can see how people have not known a Hawks team without Horford, really. And you've never known a good one that didn't have Horford on it.
Oh boy. I remember when I first started watching the Hawks, when I moved to Georgia, when I was very young, and I started watching them. I think Al Harrington was our marquee player.
Oh, wow, yeah.
If I can remember correctly.
Yeah, Al Harrington. Yeah, that's right. Man,
it was a long time ago, and Horford kind of
forgot about Al Harrington, frankly.
And yeah, I I still have the brochure from those early games. But the thing with Horford was there was that kind of like time shift of where, Hawks fans in the area, I would say, or, some other people would say, or just heck, people around the nation would say, they would joke and say, oh, we're going to Phillips Arena to go see the other team.
Yeah, right. The Sixers are in. They're going to go see Allen Iverson tonight.
I actually went to a game just like that. This is before Horford, and it was just like that. So
yeah, sure.
I was at that game.
Yeah, what's funny too, Josh? When the Hawks were going into that draft, there weren't a ton of people. As good as Horford ended up being, and as you look at that draft class, he was obviously, it was perfectly legitimate to take him with the third pick. There were a lot of people that didn't want him, and like, well, we just drafted Sheldon Williams. This guy, and they looked at his.
I was going to say, before you continue with this, I just want to say to you, before you continue with this story, Jason, at my young age and not really watching basketball, I was kind of there because of the tendency we had of getting big guys. And I totally understand, because I was thinking, do we really need him? Well,
they'd already whiffed, right? They'd already kind of blown it with
Sheldon.
With Sheldon, and the year before.
And Marvin was on the team.
I mean, so there wasn't a lot of success there. And they'd taken, Childress instead of like Iguodala and some of the other guys. And they'd blown it with the Sharif trade. So, there was a lot of stuff
and
that people had. But coming into that, people wanted Sekou Smith. I joke with Sekou all the time about his love for Mike Conley, which, as it turns out, was perfect. Would have been a perfectly reasonable.
We needed a point guard at that time too, if I can remember.
Yeah, because but Billy Knight, he didn't believe in point guards, as he told me. He said, guards are guards, Jason. Guards are guards.
He said this.
Oh, sure.
This is great.
Guards are guards.
Really?
You don't think no. His dream was to have 5, 6, 9 guys playing on the court at the same time.
Okay, so was that actually like something he said, or is that because I know I had that theory because
He told me guards. Yeah, he said right there to me with his eyebrows raised. He was very condescending toward me. I think that, but it wasn't just me.
I
It
understand
was everybody. But he would always guards are guards. We don't. We don't have to go out of our way. Guard is a guard. He said to me. Yeah, that one, and his other favorite one was, "It's possible." Yeah, is it possible? Anything's possible. Wow.
Oh, Billy.
Yeah,
Knight.
Billy Knight, and if you ever meet Billy, don't shake his hand. He's got a bone crusher. And Lang Whitaker told me, and of course I was too much of a dummy. I kept getting my hand crushed by Billy Knight. Lang Whitaker said, "Oh yeah, I switched to fist bumps a long time ago with that guy." That's why Lang Whitaker is, he is well respected and very high up in the NBA pundit chain, and I can't get my Google Hangouts to work. So,
hey,
yeah, Billy Knight. So yeah, that was a thing. So yeah, guards.
Okay, so that was a real thing. Okay, that was
a real thing.
That wasn't just.
That was a real thing.
Okay. At the time, I was in high school. No, or was I middle school? High school at the time of all that stuff happening. Early night. So I used to joke with my friends, we're just gonna have a team full of 6, 7.
Yeah, that was his thing. He liked that. That was good. Yeah. So no, they didn't really. Horford. Mike Conley was a real point guard, like you said. Yeah, we needed a point guard. There were some people that really wanted to ease Gianli on.
Yes.
That was a real thing. Brendan Wright was a real thing from North Carolina. Well, if we're going to take a big guy, we should take Brendan Wright. Because what people were doing was they were looking at Horford's college statistics, the raw numbers. And they saw, hey, this guy averages 12 points a game and 7 rebounds. Where's the beef, without understanding that Billy Donovan really didn't have a system that created big numbers for anybody.
Also, of what I can remember, and correct me if I'm wrong on this. I might be completely wrong and out there. I believe at the time, Joakim Noah, he was the popular player on the player that would always get the TV time. So if anyone,
well, he was outlandish, right? He was an outlandish, and he still is. I mean, I love the guy. Anybody that went to Florida, and certainly, and if you did, you watched those back-to-back championship teams. Joe. He was the engine, man. He was an engine. Horford was the rock. Noah was the engine. And, you needed both of them, on that team to win a championship. So, yeah, Joe. But, Joe was never considered really that high. Joe was never considered to be that high.
Well, oh man, I am loving this.
Yeah. So sorry, a little audio thing going there.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah. So Noah was never considered to be, that high of a pick. But I mean, and we even thought that he might be taken. We might be available with the 11th pick.
So. Boy, and that was the same draft that got us all-time great AC Law on our team, if I can remember correctly. Thank you, Horford, for – I mean, Al Horford, he was – where's he rank, kind of with best draft picks we've had in, the past, decade? He might have been, besides, him and Jeff, maybe Dennis, seeing how he turns out, up there with one of the better draft picks the Hawks have had. And certainly when you think of, I guess how people say bring fans in or whatever, it brought me in. and that's what counts right there. That's what matters.
Yeah. Yeah. The ACL. Yeah. So Horford getting taken, and the biggest objection in that whole thing, Josh, was just that they'd taken Sheldon Williams the year before. They didn't want another big stiff power forward on the team, but obviously Horford ended up being a lot more.
A whole lot more. Continued to work on his game. Incredibly mobile for a guy his size. Threw him out there at center. I never actually heard him complain. It was always just ramblings of, stuff in the background.
Always kind of passive aggressive type stuff.
Yeah, I've never heard him complain about, not playing center, but I mean,
there were a couple times, Josh, where I'd ask him about, because he would struggle against taller players. If he was up against Roy Hibbert or somebody like that, at least early on, Dwight Howard, if he was up against a legit 7-footer, offensively, he would be a little more passive. So when I asked him about it, he would say, maybe we need somebody bigger where I could slide over and be in a better matchup.
Yeah. And okay, so you mentioned that and made me think of an interview I saw or heard. I believe Andrew Bynum at the time, because he'd mentioned, it's tough when you give up 40 pounds to people. A good 30, 40 pounds on guys that they have over you.
Yeah. Yeah, I understood it. And I always thought that was a weakness of the Hawks, and that's why they kept getting beat on the glass. They would just get out muscled.
But I appreciate his effort. 4-time All-Star. I remember the first time he became an All-Star, it was like, really?
Right.
Really? And then it made you think, how good is he? And then at least to me, I thought at the time, comparing him to other players in the East, I was like, well, I guess he is up there.
I felt like he was kind of getting the benefit of the doubt for being such a good guy, being a nice guy. But it doesn't happen a few times in a row. Because his defense was so appreciated around the league, and that's something that the Hawks are definitely going to miss. Brad made some great points about that. That Dwight Howard's a different defender. He's still good, still a good defender, but different than what Horford was. So, how does that translate to the league's number 2 defense in the league last year? I don't know. I have to think that any kind of change is going to weaken it somewhat, because you just know where the other guy's going to be. But there's no question that the rebounding was an issue, and a lot of that was just because Al, he was 6'10". You're trying to shove 6'11" Tristan Thompson, or 7-foot Mozgov, or even Joe Kim, or some of these other big centers. Makes them a little more challenging.
Yeah. Now, when you say Horford in defense, one thing that I know we're going to miss, Horford was actually good at defending guys kind of on the perimeter, especially for a guy his size. And there were many times that we would just, we would switch. Well, Mike Woodson.
Well, switcheroo defense, yeah.
Yeah. But especially kind of like the last play, when we played, for example, Boston, in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
That was something they did kind of to contain Isaiah Thomas, was we had our bigs that were able to switch out on the perimeter. With Dwight Howard, I feel we're not going to get that. But at the same time, it's like you say, he's a different kind of defender. So on offense too. I mean, the things that the Hawks like to do, pick and roll. I mean, that's not Dwight's thing. Not a pick and pop guy for sure. Yeah.
He's not a pick and roll guy at all. So, I mean, it just remains to be seen.
Well, I'm starting to kind of, with the team in the past few days, I'm starting to, get the optimism up a little bit about the team. I'm thinking, well, Dwight hasn't really played with the guy of next to someone of Paul Millsap's potential in a while. And Dennis is better than the last few point guards that Dwight has played with. I'm starting to talk myself into it, Jason. It's happening.
Well,
Things are happening.
You watch Dwight on TV, and he was on the Vegas Summer League telecast and there's a video clip on the side about it.
Yes.
He seems more mature, but I'm not looking. One thing you could count on Horford was that he'd make his free throws. He was not going to be a liability down the stretch, and you can't say that about Dwight Howard. Talented as the guy is, and as much as you want that rebounding, it comes with a cost, and that cost is, shooting. He's not going to be a threat. He's not going to stretch a defense out. So it'll be Millsap's job, and obviously there's going to be a lot on Kent Bazemore's plate. They're going to miss Horford. It's a different guy. It's not that, so like you're talking about, the defense is going to be different. The offense is different. And I know there's a lot of people that are open to that because, Josh, when it came down to it, as high as the Hawks did fly with the Millsap and Horford, they kept hitting the wall.
Yeah.
So do something different. And, since the Warriors are going to win everything anyway, or if they don't, LeBron will. Why not, right?
Yeah. At least I wonder if that was something that they saw when they got Dwight. They said, well, those two, Warriors and Cavs don't have a super big center. So I don't know. I'm talking to myself into things. I'm gaining the optimistic part, but man, it was just the more I think about the upcoming season, everything, I'm like, man, Horford really filled in for a lot of things. He didn't cause the lane to get clogged.
Right.
A lot of stuff. Athletic when needed to. We saw like Dennis last year actually throwing lobs to him more than I've seen in previous years.
That's right.
Well,
that is one thing Dwight's still good at.
Yeah. Yeah. We're gonna miss the guy, and I was gonna say I wish him well, but man, he's playing for Boston.
Nah,
that goes back to that initial.
Yeah, one thing we got to talk about, Josh. One thing we got to say before we sign off here is that, I think there was a legitimate chance if Horford played 5 more years in Atlanta that his jersey would have been retired.
Yeah.
I think he really cost himself a permanent legacy for a city. And I think that's something he'll regret if they don't win it all in Boston. And they're not going to win it all in Boston. I think he'll regret that because I think he walked away from legacy. And that's another thing to really mourn, Josh, because we haven't had a lot of guys in Atlanta we can truly celebrate like that.
The last one prior to him, maybe Joe Johnson.
Josh. I mean,
Josh.
To me, Josh. I mean, it was 9 years also, and there was so much done, and he was, such a picture of Atlanta. But maybe, yeah. I mean, Joe had already played at a couple other places, but if he'd stayed with the Hawks, maybe, yeah. But Horford definitely.
Well, I am.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to bring up about Horford is if you look at Basketball Reference, you look at all-time leaders for the Hawks.
Yeah.
Horford leads in a lot of things that just screams efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's up there at number 4 or 5, but just like you see his name, just like every stat to me that just says efficiency. And that to me sums up his game pretty well.
Yeah, where do you put him? Like Atlanta Hawk history. I don't go back to the STL Hawks. Strictly ATL. Dominique at the top. Lou
ATL.
Hudson's up there. Maravich, Mutombo,
Maravich,
Roundfield,
Tumbo, Round.
Blaylock, Rollins. I don't know. It's difficult.
I put him. I don't know. After Roundfield, because you think about it, he was with the team for 9 years, and
Yeah,
he did kind of like turn around the franchise in the sense of, hey, we are not as bad as we used to be.
that's right.
So,
And like you said, he did it with a lot of numbers.
yeah, and it's just everything like 2-point field goal percentage, up there with defensive rebounds,
Right.
true shooting percentage. He's
Yeah.
tied for 8 with that. But
I bet he's up there in win shares if you got the stats up.
yeah, 6 in win shares.
Okay. And he's behind, Dominique, who else?
For win shares, he is Dominique, Lou Hudson, Bob Pettit.
Yeah.
Who is this? Cliff Hagan?
Yep. Cliff, that's St. Louis, STL. Yeah.
Yeah. So
he's up there with Atlanta.
yeah.
Talking about just pure ATL, Lulu, Dominique. I mean, those are 2 guys with banners hanging, in the rafters.
Yeah.
And Mutombo's, probably up there too, even with his short stint. So, I think he cost himself. I think it cost him. They're not going to retire his jersey now, Josh.
Oh, no.
I mean, we'll let time go by, but
no, I don't see it. Unless if he wants to do a.
I mean, Dominique left, but we traded him.
Yeah.
Mutombo left, but we traded him.
Pretty much everyone, well, outside of Josh Smith that I can think of recently, it was a trade.
Right.
I think. Well, let me ask: do you think Jeff, when he saw Jeff getting traded, do you think that played into the decision?
Like we talked about, you never know about the locker room, and when you see how other players get treated, and I know it weighed on those guys that Jeff was dangling out there before that trade deadline, and Al was too. Remember, there was a lot of Horford talk at the trade deadline. Don't think that those things didn't play a role in the psyche heading into the offseason. I think Horford needed some convincing that he was valuable, like ultimately Val. I can't live without you. And I don't think he got that vibe from Atlanta. They didn't get that. I mean, they had an opportunity to keep him for another $1.5 million a year in an economic era, Josh, that $1.5 million means nothing. And they just didn't feel like they should do it. So, obviously maybe they think it's for the best. I don't know. I just know that by making that choice, by Horford putting his thing there, I think he walked away. I think he walked away from, having your jersey retired, having your number retired. I think it's a big deal. That's one of the advantages. Sad enough, that's one of the advantages of playing in Atlanta is that if you can make a career out of it, you've got a pretty good chance to finish among the top players and be recognized. But that's obviously that didn't. I think Horford wanted a new challenge and wanted to be somewhere where he was really loved and on a team with great tradition. I guess. I mean, who knows? When you get Al on the podcast, Josh, and I know that's probably coming soon.
Yeah.
You can ask him the question.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I can get his a sibling of his to come on the podcast with me. That's the closest I'll get.
It's true.
I'm gonna work on it. I'm working on it, guys.
I think it's possible. You could get Anna Horford on.
Look at what's his brother that played for Michigan? He's not on the team.
Yeah, John. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if I could get him.
John Horford.
I don't know. I was going to say, or his brother that was his younger brother that was caught staring at the cheerleader that one
Now
time.
that would be a good one.
No,
That's must see TV. You do your own little 30 for 30
oh man,
on that moment, which is iconic.
CawCast would get a large amount of listeners on that.
Oh yeah, that would definitely be a thing. You could do a reenactment.
No, I don't think it would go over well if I reenacted it. It wouldn't go over well with people.
Oh, okay, yeah.
With everybody.
Well, I'm not talking about him staring at you. I was.
Right. No, of course.
I
was gonna say you don't think I've tried? No, but
oh yeah. No, it's a yeah. We've gone off the rails. We're careening down the hill, Harrison Ford fugitive style. Just going down.
Well, I'm gonna miss Al.
Yeah.
The future of the Hawks, I don't know what to think.
I'm wearing black, man. I'm wearing black. It'll be a minute.
End of an era.
It'll be it absolutely is. You know, Bill Shanks said that when I was on the show. He said, you know, hey, that Joe Johnson, Josh Smith, Al Horford team is finished. It's you can close the book on it.
Anything relating to that too. Jeff is gone.
Yep.
Who's the longest tenured Hawk now? Corver?
Oh, that's a great question.
Is it no,
Hold on.
I was going to say Kirk, but I don't know.
No. He didn't play that long first time around. It probably is Kyle.
It's got to be Kyle right now.
I think you're right. It's not that long either. What is it, 6 years maybe?
Yeah.
Going into his 6th year in Atlanta? Wow. Maybe? Oh, well.
Yeah, he might be 6.
Oh, well, I don't know.
Anyway.
That's definitely end of an era. I'll tell you what's sad is that there should be draft picks that have been on the team longer, but nope. Dennis, the longest tenured draft pick on the team? Mike Scott, maybe? Mike Scott.
Did Mike Scott
Mike Scott is the longest tenured draft pick on the team.
He came in with when they drafted John
Jenkins. Yeah. That's
okay,
right.
So it is Mike Scott. Wow. Man, this
and don't put that in pen for next season either. We don't know.
Well, Jason, there's summer league games going on with the Hawks.
Yep.
Geez, man, it's just everything that really got me into really watching the Hawks. I used to be a casual fan to like actually becoming a diehard.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, kind of withered and gone now. And I don't know this team anymore.
That's a great way to put it. We think we know what we're going to see next year, but Schroeder driving, Howard diving.
I almost said Horford there, but Howard.
You did. Yeah. It's been 9 years, man. Millsap creating, Corver shooting, Bazemore gazing.
Bazemore continues to gaze. Bazemore continue to try his best at the position he's in. We'll see. The new rookies, Bembry. I wonder if he's supposed to replace that hole in our heart of Josh Childress, I guess, because of the hair.
Kind of shoots like him too, I guess.
Oh boy. Let's hope he doesn't bolt for Greece.
Yeah, I was wrong about that too. I don't know why people even listen to me anymore. I was sure Horford was going to stay, and I was pretty sure that Childress was using Greece as leverage. And, as it turns out, he really never should have gone, but oh well.
Well, okay, so the whole thing with Childress is just kind of like he did that the year after they had that, whole epic, at least Atlanta fans. I don't know about if anybody else in the world even acknowledges the Boston series except for us. But
Right.
it was right after that, because you think about it, Atlanta lost in 7 games. But no one's going to remember that except for Hawks fans. They remember
Right.
everything about it. They remember that was the year Horford started. That was the year Joe Johnson hit that like 20-point quarter. That was the year the nothing easy. That was the year
That's right.
Horford taunted Paul Pierce.
Stay the F down.
Yeah, it was.
That's beautiful.
It was.
Where was that guy? And that was one thing I criticized Horford for this year, was just that I thought he lost that love and feeling already, because there was no more. He didn't kiss the biceps anymore. He wasn't demonstrative like that. I mean, the closest we got was him trying to elbow Deli's head through the floor 2 seasons ago. But
He gave whatever happened to it. It took Jeff Teague's enthusiasm as well.
yeah,
So I'll say to you, because you remember the guy that got a technical for screaming at Ray Allen after dunking a ball.
that's right. That's right.
So I want to say before we get out of here, I asked, or I was talking with during the draft, Jason, if you could tell us a story of yours. I remember you told us. I don't know if you could tell us right here. Just go ahead and tell me. But there's a particular J.R. Smith story that a lot of people are curious, and they want to know if it's true that you are the reason he shoots like 60% from 3 against us.
Well, I don't know about that. But I attended the last open draft workout in Atlanta media history.
Okay, so can you explain real quick for the guys that don't know what open?
So when they used to bring guys in to work out, the Hawks used to let everybody in. This was in the Billy Knight era. I mean, Pete Babcock was unbelievable. Pete was so open and honest about things. He had nothing to hide ever, and he would admit his failings, and he would tell you why he did what he did. But Billy and I was a little different. But the workouts were open. So 2004 was a big year. We had 2 draft picks that year.
Yeah.
And so the workouts were open, and I was working. I covered the Hawks for Real GM. I ran the Hawks front office site, and I covered the first 3 workouts, and I did a write up of each one. I broke it down, what they did, how they looked, and where I thought they would, where I probably thought they'd be drafted, and who I thought from 1 to 4 won the workout. So there were guys like David, the third workout, first workout was a bunch of nobody. Second workout, same. Third workout had David Harrison from Colorado and Rafael Araujo or something like that, who ended up getting drafted in the top 10 by Toronto. And I wrote that one up. After that one, I had some of the staff on the Hawks coming up to me going into the fourth workout, which had Kirk Snyder, Luke Jackson, and J.R. Smith, along with Ricky Menard, who was a kind of a small college guy. So those 4 guys worked out together, and I wrote it up. And I had guys coming up beforehand going, "Hey, I'm reading your stuff. It's great. Keep it up." Like, great, yeah. So, okay, I'm getting positive feedback from people inside the Hawks. And so we watched this workout. And J.R. Smith was being hyped by Chad Ford as a lottery pick. And Kirk Snyder was kind of a mid-range first-round pick. And Luke Jackson was about the same. And Menard was a second-rounder. So we're watching the workout, and I'm taking my notes just like I did before. And Smith, I mean, you have to remember, J.R. Smith was like he was 18. Guys were still coming out of high school. And his on his jump shot, he just didn't jump. He was kind of a tiptoe jump shooter. And you could see that he made plenty, and he certainly wasn't afraid to take it. But he was okay. And then when they were doing one-on-one drills, Kirk Snyder, who is a very intense individual, ate his lunch. ate his lunch. So, you know, he was looking a little timid out there.
J.R. Smith.
J.R. Smith was looking a little timid.
Okay.
And you know, Luke Jackson was looking good. Kirk Snyder was owning the whole workout. And Ricky Menard was doing a pretty good thing himself. So it wasn't until the 2-on-2 drills that Smith started to come out of his shell, because he was playing with Snyder. So the two of them, you can see Smith dunking, you can see the athleticism, and you can see Kirk Snyder kind of bringing JR out of it. But by the end of the workout, I wrote it up. Luke Jackson had the best workout. Kirk Snyder was right there. And I thought Menard outplayed J.R. Smith. And I said in the article, and I wrote it, and Jonathan Given, who runs Draft Express now, at the time he didn't run Draft Express, but he was running something called Draft City. And he was reprinting my stuff. He loved it. And the Hawks gave me pictures of the workouts and everything to include. Yeah, oh yeah, these were very well received. And Jonathan was loving it. So I wrote this one up, and I wrote in there, by the way, I was like, hey, you know, Smith is obviously, you can see where the talent is. And he's probably a first round talent, but the way that he worked out, he's probably, you know, he'll probably be late first round, early second round, if he works out like this everywhere. So wrote that up, sent it off. I got an email. You know, Jonathan immediately said this was an unbelievable write-up. Gave him the picture. You know, he loved the pictures. And you know, he said, you know, this is going. You know, he called me the next day. He published it. The next morning, he called me. He said it's gotten 1 million views already. It's like, oh, that's cool. You know,
wow,
1 million views. That's awesome. He's like, yeah, it's off the charts. I got an email from Ricky Menard's agent thanking me, saying it was the most honest interpretation of a workout he'd ever read. It's like, okay, great.
Ricky Menard's agent.
Well, yeah.
Of course he's okay.
He had a good workout. What can I say? He did. He had a great workout. He ended up getting drafted in the second round.
All right.
Based on that. But so, you know, so I thought, oh, okay. It's cool. 1 million views, getting plaudits from staff and agents. So this is going to be, you know, this is cool. I can't wait for the next workout to see some of these other guys like Josh Smith, Josh Childress. This is going to be fun, you know. Go watch, you know, Ben Gordon, Jameer Nelson, that kind of stuff.
Oh man,
you know, it was going to be epic. And then come to find out, I get a phone call from Arthur Trish, who's the VP of Public Relations for the Hawks. I get a call from him. This is like 4 days later, maybe 5 days later. And I get a call saying, Jason, you've been banned from workouts. I was like, what? What do you mean banned? He's like, well, we've been asked not to let you into the workouts anymore.
Okay.
And I have a good relationship with AT, and I was like, well, what happened? Because I've never been warned. I've never been talked. I didn't talk out of turn. You know, nobody told me. Nobody gave me any parameters. I've just been writing the workouts up. And what this last one wasn't the first one I did like that. He's like, look, you're going to have to just take my word for it. I was like, well, Arthur, are they letting other media in, and it's just me being locked out? And said, well, yeah.
Wow.
Like, well, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. But before I know it, it wasn't just me. They locked everybody out. Billy Knight just shut it down. Nobody's allowed in the workouts. They couldn't take a chance on that happening again. I was like, what happened? I don't even know what happened. What happened? You know, but I was probably guessing that, all right, well, I didn't give the lotto designation to J.R. Smith. Big deal. It's one workout. You know, clearly he'd had better workouts. Kirk Snyder owned him in that workout, and he didn't look good. He looked like a wallflower in that workout because Kirk Snyder was so dominant personality-wise. You're talking about a 4-year college player. owned them. That's what happened. Too honest, I guess. So, the AJC didn't have a beat writer at that time. They were in between. Mike Lee had already gone to the Washington Post. It's the Verticals, Michael Lee. Had gone to the Washington Post to be the Wizards beat writer. He was great. So there was nobody there. They had just brought Sekou Smith in from Indianapolis to cover the Hawks as a beat writer. They'd just done it. So the next workout happens, and it's like Anderson Varejao and a bunch of them. I'm sitting in the media area of Phillips Arena, and Sekou sits down and he goes, "Are you the reason why I can't get in there?" I said, "Yeah, I guess so. I guess I'm the guy." So he was asking what I did. I told him. He's like, "Oh, okay, it's pretty cool." He said, "Well, wear it like a badge of honor, man." It's like, okay. But I never knew what happened. What happened? Something had to happen because I'd been doing the same thing for 3 other workouts. Nobody said boo. I did it for this workout. All of a sudden, everything changed. So it wasn't until, you remember the Orlando series where we got blitzed in 4 games?
I was at 2 of those games, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I was at the other 2 in Orlando.
Oh, okay.
And I finally was told that Smith's agent, which I believe was Dan Fagan, had blown a gasket over that report. And remember, it got viewed by millions.
Over a million times. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that was just the first day.
Yeah.
It got viewed millions of times. And he had blown a gasket and threatened the Hawks. Now, this is I don't know this for sure. This is what I was told by staff, that they would not send other Fagan clients in to Atlanta to work out. Remember, the Hawks had 2 top 20 picks in that draft. They say we're not going to allow any other of that agent's players in the draft to work out for the Hawks. If Jason Walker was there. My name specifically.
Wow.
Jason Walker's at that workout. I'm not going to send any of our clients there. I think it was Fagan. He's probably going to sue me if it's wrong. If it's wrong, I recant. I don't remember who J.R. Smith's agent was at the time. But whoever it was, let's take the name out of it. But whoever his agent was blew a gasket and threatened to not send any more clients. So that got Billy Knight's attention. Team first. And, I don't disagree with him there. He's not going to toe the hard line against an agent on my behalf or freedom of the press. He's not going to do it. So, yeah. So that's what happened. I apparently cost J.R. Smith money in the draft. He ended up getting taken, I think, 20th, 22nd, right where I said he was going to be taken. Denver took him.
I remember. Yeah.
I think it was Denver.
He was late. Wait, was he Denver or New Orleans? No.
No, maybe it was New Orleans. Yeah, you're right. It might have been New Orleans.
Yeah.
But anyway, they he was drafted where I kind of said he was going to draft, and so did Luke Jackson, and so did Kirk Snyder. So I was pretty Nostradamus on that. But it wasn't because of my write-up. They did dozens of workouts. It wasn't because of my write-up J.R. Smith got drafted where he did. But from that day forward, no media is allowed to attend Hawks draft workouts.
And you hear it here, people. Jason Walker is the reason J.R. Smith does not test 3-pointers against us.
And when Robbie Calland came on as beat writer for us, Peachtree Hoops, they told him that story also. And he said, "Oh, you're why. I just found out you're why I can't have nice things here." Robbie's right.
Man.
Jason Walker. Pot stirrer.
You know what? I'm gonna try to get Robbie, and I'm gonna try to attempt to get Sekou. Of course, after I get Al Horford on the podcast. But
right. Or Anna. That's right.
So did you write
That's the story.
Did you write this for any other potential lottery picks? Like give them a bad review?
No, I didn't get it. That was the first lotto pick. And the whole Atlanta Spirit group came down to watch JR work out. So, because he was the first lotto pick, look, and they had to see what I saw. Like I said, when he started playing with Snyder instead of against him, you could see it. You could see it. And I wrote that up. I put it in the thing. But I think it's when I put him fourth behind Ricky Menard. I think that might have upset. But it clearly said for that workout. It's not where I felt like they would be drafted because I would have definitely had Menard in the second round. And I said it in my piece. But I think it's still out there. I think Jonathan still has that somewhere in the Draft Express archives. You can type in Jason Walker, J.R. Smith, maybe.
Well, I've been typing up, all the names that you were mentioning, but that is something I also want to look up. Jason.
It was legendary, man.
Jason, that is a legendary story.
That's unbelievable. Yeah.
I hope
I'm still kind of like, I can't believe that anybody is impacted or why some multi-million-dollar agent would flip his lid over something I wrote. Me. But there you go.
Wear like a badge of honor. That's what Sekou said, man.
What can I do? Yeah, Sekou was right, man. I do. I wear it. I mean, what can you do? There was nothing else for me to do. I couldn't go to a workout. I was done. My scouting days were over.
See, these were the kind of stories I was trying to get out of our guests earlier in the year. And I'm like, no, we need some stories that no one's ever heard of.
Yeah, that's a hot one. I don't know if that gets me into hot water with the Hawks. It shouldn't. I mean, they did the right thing. An agent threatened to not send any more players. I mean, again, that might not be the real story, just the one that's passed along. Certainly made the most sense. Certainly the one that I was thinking happened. So anyway, that's what's said. The person, they're long gone now, so no worries there.
That was awesome. That was amazing. Guys, we have been going on talking about Al Horford, Dwight, now J.R. Smith for a while.
He wore a shirt to that workout, by the way.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, J.R. Smith wore a shirt.
It wasn't a shirt of him shirtless, was it?
No, that would have been pretty meta. That's a little too early in his career for that.
Too early. Oh, my goodness. Jason, I can't thank you enough for coming on and talking Al and talking this story. We're going to leave this podcast on a high note, on a happy note. Hopefully the listeners enjoyed that. Oh, man. Had a great time talking to you, Jason, and thank you for coming on.
Oh, thanks, John. I appreciate being on.
Oh, no problem. No problem. That does it for us, I guess, this episode, guys. Thank you all for listening. And heck, we've been getting some responses recently on, I guess how well we're doing, how much I'm talking. I talk too much, Jason. That's what I'm being told. Or at least I.
It's a heck of a song by Run DMC back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
You talk too much. Homeboy, you never shut up. That's what it said. It said, your mouth is big size, extra large, and when you open it up, it looks like my garage.
And we just gained about 15 more followers with that one right there. So thank you. So thank you.
That song's 30 years old. That makes me feel very old.
Oh, man. Horford being on the team for 9 years, and I remember going to the games. That's got to make me feel old. But
that's right.
Hey, anyway, thank you all for listening. Thank you for tuning in, and we are out of here. Well, at least until next time. Peace.